Golden State Media Concepts Sci-Fi Podcast. Together we dive into the world of sci-fi and science fiction. From episodes of Star Trek, Star Wars, to The Walking Dead, Resident Evil, all the hot new science fiction movies from the backdoors of Marvel or DC. The Golden State Media Concepts Sci-Fi Podcast. You'll never look at science fiction the same way again.
Hello everybody, this is Jay, back with another episode of the GSMC Sci-Fi Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Network. So, we have some interesting things to cover this episode, so let's just jump right into it. So, Jake Gyllenhaal is an actor that I remember way back when he was in City Slickers as, Mitch's son. Since then, he's grown up, he's done films like, I just had it on the tip of my tongue, God, what was it called? Donnie Darko, and he's done a lot of, he likes doing a lot of darker films lately, or, different characters, more peculiar characters, a little bit of different characters than what he normally plays. And, he was in Everest as a very different character. I want to say he was recently in The Sisters Brothers, so he was in that in a different role and different character. And but he likes to really do, when he starts now, he likes to do some darker, more peculiar, kind of mind-bending stuff. It's just what he's done lately. I have only seen a handful of his films lately. I haven't really seen some of the stuff he starred in lately, but it's deeper, it's more damaged characters, it's like characters who, are more imperfect, have more things going on with them, more problems, more issues. And a trailer again released for his next film, which is actually going to be on Netflix, if you can believe it, which I don't think he's done a Netflix movie before. I think this is his first time delving into that. But it seems already like it's going to be just on the same note, the same point as a lot of these other films. And this movie is called Velvet Buzzsaw. So I watched the trailer for this, and a couple times actually. And where do I begin? So he's a character, I guess, who either he or someone he knows finds like these paintings from this artist who mysteriously dies, and they're really popular paintings. They're supposedly worth a lot of money, and they sell them all off and make some good money, right? But what starts happening, I guess, is as the people, notice bad things start happening to people who, either, sold these paintings, stuff like that, almost like some kind of spirit or something is like getting revenge on all these people. It's kind of strange. And it's supposed to, the paintings have human blood in them, and, it's, boy, it's, it's definitely a really kind of mind-bending trailer. When I watched it, I was like, things just get weirder and weirder and weirder as the trailer moves forward. It's just the reality, it's what happens. For me, as I'm watching this, I'm like, what in the world is even happening here? I can't, my brain can't wrap around what's going on, what's happening, why is this happening, and just, what's going on? I don't know. So, it definitely looks like it's going to be a different film for Jake Gyllenhaal, that's for sure. In the respect that I don't think he's done something like this in a while. He seems to play a normal enough character in it, but these strange, paranormal, unexplained things happening kind of start to, affect him, I think. But yeah, I don't know. This is one of those, just by the trailers, I'm like, I don't even know if this would be a film for me. I haven't been a huge Jake Gyllenhaal fan lately. I just haven't. Even Donnie Darko, as much of a cult classic it is, and how much a lot of people really enjoy it, I'm not one of those people. Don't be wrong. I don't hate it. I don't think it's a bad film by any means. It's just a really mind-bending film. I mean, it really, really is. At least for me, after watching, my brain's like, ow, What's going on? I don't understand. My brain hurts because like so many strange things are going on in the film, basically. And yeah, like I think the last film I saw his was either called Deconstructor or something like that, where his wife dies and he's kind of like not sure what to do with his life after that's going on. And it wasn't a bad film, don't be wrong. And like I said, don't quote me on the name. That may not have been what it was called. It may have been called something else, but it wasn't a bad film. But I can't say it was a mind-blowingly amazing film that I'm going to watch again and again and again either. I can't really say that. That's just the truth. And I have a feeling, at least for me as a viewer and as a movie fan, this is not a film I'm going to gravitate towards. I don't think. Because these kinds of films, I like to understand what's happening in a film. I don't like to, question about it for days and weeks and months later. Not necessarily. So, yeah, this looks like it's going to be one of his more darker films. But it's going to definitely be mind-bending. I think that's fair to say. And I don't think it's going to be bad. Don't be wrong. Don't, believe that, the film's going to be bad, it's going to be terrible, don't go watch it. I'm not saying that. For me as a viewer and as a movie fan, I don't think this is a film I would personally enjoy. Now, if you've liked some of Jake Gyllenhaal's recent films, this one's probably going to be one you really enjoy. This one will probably be right up your alley. And I mean that. It probably will be. And it's interesting to see that it's going to be on Netflix. So being that it's on Netflix, there may be things that can, be done in this movie on there that it couldn't be done otherwise. That's a possibility, if that makes any sense. Like some of the shows I've watched lately, even some of the movies I've watched lately, like, yeah, you couldn't really do that in a theater per se. And who knows, maybe this is the way that it's going to go one day, because like they did with Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle, they put that on the Netflix instead of in theaters. So maybe that's how it's going to be now. We're like, we're just going to have this stuff go on Netflix. It'll probably be cheaper. They'll probably lose less money. They might make more money. It might, be more popular that way. I don't know. But this definitely looks like an interesting film. It's kind of a weird name, though. I don't really understand why it's called Velvet Buzzsaw. And like I said, for me watching this thing, I watched it a few times. I'm like, I don't fully understand what's going on. I understand that things are getting weirder and weirder and darker, and there may be some supernatural element there. Okay, maybe. But I don't know. I just couldn't really understand what was going on, and that made me, not too impressed with it. But it doesn't mean by any means that it's going to be bad. I'm just like, I don't know. Like I said, for me, Jake Gyllenhaal, I kind of haven't been a big fan of his lately. I just haven't. But it could be good. It could be interesting. You know what? Maybe it'll be like, it's nice to kind of see him try this because, like I said, Netflix is getting more and more popular. It just is. So, like, some of the films they've done have been actually pretty amazing films. Like Bright, I thought Bright was an absolutely amazing film. They did a wonderful job with that film. To All the Boys I Loved Before, another really good movie. I mean, that really just bravo, very good job. It really did. So Netflix has done some really good movies lately. They really have. Movies that, again, I don't know if they would work in a movie theater, setting. I think I just don't know if they would, because some are kind of out there. Like Bright was like, okay, it's a world where elves exist and orcs exist and fairies exist and all that stuff in the real world. You're like, oh, okay. That would have been a little hard, I think, to sell to, like in a theater, because theater tickets are really expensive now and things like that. So it was something that would have just worked on Netflix, and it did work on Netflix. So I don't know. Yeah, this is, like I said, this trailer is on Netflix now, and you know what? This is just my opinion about it. Maybe, I'm wrong, and maybe it will do really well. I might still be interested in seeing it just to be like, okay, was I wrong about it, or was I right, or could I have been, maybe a little too harsh? Because it can happen. I mean, sometimes, I've seen some movies where the trailer looks really, really bad, but the film itself is actually the opposite. And it's gone the other way, too. I've seen some films, oh my God, the trailer looks amazing. I can't wait to see this. Looks like such a good movie. And then I see it, I'm like, wow, that was a really, really terrible movie. So you never know. Trailers don't always do as good of a job of getting you pumped for a film as they should be. It's just the way it is. So this is something that I'm probably going to, keep an eye out for. And it comes out, I think, in February. So it's here before we know it. It's only maybe a 3-4 weeks or so. So it's it's going to be here soon, and if you want to check out the trailer, like I said, it's on YouTube. Check it out. So we're going to take ourselves a short little break right now, but we'll be back in a moment with more sci-fi news.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's gsmcpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Hello, everybody. This is Jay, back with some more sci-fi news. So this next show, I actually talked about last week, the trailer about it. And since then I was able to watch this, it's on Amazon Prime. And, when it came to me for this show, I remember watching this on Nickelodeon growing up. The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, or was it Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends? I remember watching it. It was on Nickelodeon. It was the older show. Where they had like Aesop's Fables on there and Peabody and Sherman were on there. They had the, running joke of, hey, Rocky, take, watch me pull a rabbit in my hat. And it's always something else. That was always going on. And I can't say it was a show I loved or I watched over and over and over again. I can't really say that. But it was a fun little show. I enjoyed watching. It was kind of cool. It was fun. It was interesting. It had some pretty cool little things going on there. It definitely was different for its time, that's for sure. So it was a fun little show. And then, of course, growing up, they decided, let's do a live-action Rocky and Bullwinkle movie. Why? I don't really know. But they decided to do that, where Rocky and Bullwinkle somehow get into the real world. We had Robert De Niro being fearless leader. We had Jason Alexander being Boris. I can't remember who was Natasha, but we had that going on. And I can't say it was a bad movie, but I can't say it's a movie that, I've watched again and again and again and has really stuck with me either. No. I don't remember what the movie was about, what its actual plot was, not really. And for me, for a film, that's not usually a good sign. If I'm like, hey, I can't remember anything about the movie, it probably wasn't that good of a movie. So, just last year, they decided, we're going to do a new Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoon called The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. That's what we're going to do. And it doesn't have any, Peabody and Sherman there, but to be fair, Peabody and Sherman, I think, had their own show on Netflix for a number of seasons, so that's kind of why that's not there. There's no Aesop's Fables, but it is Rocky and Bullwinkle, going against Fearless Leader and Boris and Natasha. And I watched season 1 of this show, and you know what? I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was kind of funny to see some of the different adventures they went on. The first episode, for 4 episodes where, there's this LeGrand Yum Yum and, Gordon Ramsay is hosting is judging it, and Rock and Bullwinkle get in with this strange, really stinky pie. The second one was where it was, there's a space alien they're trying to help get back home. And the third one, if memory serves me, was this secret door and monsters. And at one point, Rocky and Bullwinkle become monsters. And, there's a giant monster. And Boris and Natasha and Fiercely are going to take over the world for a while. And Boris has Boris Town. And Natasha has Natasha Heights. So they were all good episodes. And they were about 3-4 episode arcs each. So it was a total maybe 12, 13 episodes. And it was a good first season. I enjoyed it. So when I heard that season 2 was coming out, I was actually pretty excited. I'm like, oh, cool. I want to see this, and I'm looking forward to seeing this. I was able to see this, and so it's, again, 3 episodes that are broken into, 4 or 5 episode arcs. So 3 stories, 4 or 5 episode arcs. It's another 13 episodes, and in the first one, Rocky and Bullwinkle, are trying to be rock stars, and they end up breaking this giant bird bath, which is, like the landmark for their hometown, Frostbite Falls. And so in that first part, they're trying to find a way to get the money to, to help rebuild this bird bath, right? That's what they're trying to do for the first 4 episodes. And things get a little zany, get a little crazy as it goes along. The second one is where we have, what was the second one again? Let me try to remember this. So the second one was, what was the second one? Come on, let me think of this. So the second arc was where, God, what was it? Why can't I remember what the second arc was? So the second episode arc was where they were, God, what was it? Gosh darn it, I can't remember. But anyways, it was really good. It was another good arc. It was where, dang it, I can find this. Let me, 1 second. Let me try to find this real quick. So, because, yeah, I remember I had it. Let me just try to find this real quick because, yeah, I know that I had it here. Let me see here. So, because I know I have it. Let me see if I can find this here. Just give me a second here, folks. It's not there, but that's okay. I can find it. So, yeah, because I'm just blanking on it for some reason right now. I really don't know why. But for some reason, I'm blanking on what the second arc was. Let me see. Aha, here we go. Okay, so. Come on. Let me just try to find this. Okay, here we go. Okay, so the second one was, let me find this here, was, oh yes. So the second one was The Legend of the Power Gems. That's what it was, where they were, start off like they solved this maze, this little like Lobster Tom's restaurant, and and get to start looking for these gems, like 3-4 power gems. It's kind of a little silly, but it's kind of fun. And I forgot to say too, in the first episode arc, Weird Al Yankovic was the host, which was the guest star. I thought it was really, really cool. Big Weird Al fan. It was a lot of fun to have him there. And yeah, and in so Legend of the Power Arc Gems was the second one. It was another 4 episode. And then the third one, of course, was where Amaze-a-Moose and Squirrel Wonder. Where Rocky and Bullwinkle, like Rocky tells Bullwinkle I've always wanted to be a superhero, and he's like, you know what, I'll help you get your dream come true. It was silly again, but it was kind of fun, actually. It was a pretty good 5-episode arc, and yeah, overall, it was actually a pretty good season. I enjoyed it. I really did. I'm like, you know what, it was fun. It was silly fun, but it was fun. It was fun to see how zany the adventures could go on that they went on, so that was kind of fun to see. And yeah, overall I enjoyed it. I was like, you know what, they did a good job with this. It's kind of interesting if you think about it, because how this ended, like at the very end, it's like, the next episode, it says literally the next episode or Finn. So it's a little weird way to end it, because like at the end of the last one, you're like, hey, Rocky and Bullwinkle want to try to be rock stars. It's like, okay, that's what's going to happen next. They're going to try to be rock stars. So with this, it's literally almost like they didn't want to do a cliffhanger this time in case it doesn't get picked up, but they hope it gets picked up for another season. And frankly, I hope it gets picked up for another season, but I don't know. It's kind of a weird way to end it. You're like, okay. So you're like, so is there going to be more, or is this it, done kaput, no more? It's kind of weird. Like, it left me going, okay. That was strange. That was a little weird. Little peculiar. I'm not sure what to think of that. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. But overall, it's fun. It's silly, but it's fun. I enjoyed it. I liked watching it. Each episode about 20-something minutes, so it wasn't insanely hard to get through. And I like it. I like it. I can't say it's as good as the original, but you know what? It's a good, reboot. It is. It's a good, like new version for a new generation. Yeah, it's good. I mean, it's enjoyable. It is, of course, available on Amazon Prime now. And I hopefully would like to see at least another season or two. I would, personally. I would like to see a little bit more, because I'm like, I think they could go on some more fun, zany adventures together. I do. I think that's totally possible, And I hope personally it isn't the end, because I think 2 seasons for a show is kind of a short run for a show. The show that has potential and is fun, and you know what, I think could tell a lot more stories. So, yeah, I personally hope, Amazon, you do another season, or maybe even another 2. I would totally be down to watch that. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And it's a good show, I think kids and, like parents can watch together, I think. So, yeah, I definitely highly recommend checking it out now. It is on there. So we're going to take ourselves another short little break, and we'll be back in a moment with more sci-fi news.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hello, everybody. This is Jay, back with some more sci-fi news. So this last one is about a show that, I've talked about before on here. I resisted. I wasn't in some giant rush to watch it. I just had my doubts about it. I was like, this is not a show I'm going to like. This is not a show I want to watch or take the time to watch. I didn't have the time I thought to watch it, and didn't even watch it until I was in it's fourth or fifth season. But it's one of those shows where I started watching, why did I wait so long to watch this show? Why do I, like this show so much? This is one of my favorite shows now. And this show has had a very good run. A very, very good run, 12 seasons. And, like many a fan, I was kind of sad-faced and kind of bummed when I heard this was going to be the last season. But it's, one of those things where, it sucks it's ending, but 12 seasons is a pretty good run for a show. And the show is still good. I mean, look at how I Met Your Mother was. The last 2 seasons were horrible. Horrible. So at least this show, and I watch it, hey, I still enjoy this show. I may not always laugh as hard as I'd like, as I did in the earlier episodes, but I still like the show. I still like the characters. And so I decided to talk about the most recent episode. It's called the Propagation Proposition. So it basically happens on this episode. 2 things are going on. So Penny's ex-boyfriend Zach learns that he is infertile, so he asks Leonard to be a sperm donor for his new wife. And Zach is now, rich and everything. I guess he sold his company, he has a bunch of money and a wife. And then at the same time, Kuther-Polly screwed things up really bad with Anu, to where it looks like things are kaput and dead, over and done. And he thinks, he's I'm going to try to see if there's some way I can try to repair the damage here and not lose her forever, right? It's just the way it is. And I remember when that happened on the last episode, I was like, man, Kuther-Polly, come on, don't do that. I mean, I've seen him so many times on this show just, get with someone really great, have a great relationship, but then things just smash to pieces and fall apart. I'm like, man, don't do that again, Kuther-Polly, come on. Just finally get someone and finally get married and finally be happy and have kids and just everything you want. I mean, just, come on, man, you deserve it. So, so on this episode, I don't remember how it happens. Somehow, Penny runs into Zach on a girls' night with Bernadette and Amy. And I think he says, hey, you know what? Let's have Leonard and you and me and my wife hang out my boat. And she's like, sure, okay. So it's a little awkward just because of that, especially when they get on there. They find out it's a really nice boat. It gets really awkward. And then of course when they say, oh yeah, we want you to help us have a baby. It's definitely an interesting thing because Penny pretty much said this season, I don't think I want to have kids. That's just what's happened. So it's her and Leonard, It looks like not having kids. It's like, no kids. That's not what's happening. So Leonard kind of like, goes, man, someone wants me to help them have a child. That's in a way helping me, kind of put my genes to the next generation, right? It's one of those offers, like, it's kind of like a hard offer for him to say no to, but it's a little bit of a weird offer at the same time because, Zach and Penny actually, if you haven't been watching the show, actually did get married in Vegas at one time. So they were technically married for a minute, and like I said, it was her ex. So that's really interesting how that goes. Karutha Pali, meanwhile, is trying to figure out, is it even possible to repair the damage he's done with Anu, or is it dead and buried? He does the whole Love Actually thing, and it actually seems to kind of work, which is kind of cool. And it looks like, at least for now, they're not dead and buried. They may just be kind of going a little bit slower, because he kind of realized, they were moving too fast. They're going like we don't know each other, and let's just get married, So I think he kind of goes, let's just go on a first date and just start dating first, and we'll go from there. So thankfully, and I was kind of glad when I saw this, thankfully they're not done. They're not over. They're just kind of like, let's put on the brakes a bit here and take our time here. So that's really kind of cool. I like that. And it's not a bad show. I still like the episodes of this season so far. I really do. I mean that. They're good seasons. There is actually a third thing going on there where Stuart, has had this girl working at the comic shop, his comic shop, and they've been going out, and I guess she says she wants Stuart to move in with me. He kind of freaks out because she's like, what? I've never lived with anyone before. I've never had a girlfriend this long, let alone someone who like really gets me and likes me. And so he kind of freaks out because she's like, I don't want to screw this up, and he's really afraid he's going to. It's just the way it is, And they play paintball the last episode, and that's where a lot of these things kind of come to the surface and kind of come to, the way they are. Wait, was that last episode that was going on? It might have been last episode that was going on. It might have been. But still, it was a big deal for Stuart. So, yeah, so it's a good episode. It does a good job, like, kind of moving some things forward and at least not ending other things, which is kind of nice. Because, like I said, I've always been like, man, Karutha Pali, deserves all the stuff that his friends all has, and he's just never had luck in that department ever, sadly. And I'd like to see, that change for him. I really would. So, it's a good episode. It's so far, this has been a good season, I think. I really mean that. I think it's been a good season. It's been a fun season. And it hasn't really had like that feel of like, it's coming to an end. Everything's slowing down. It's all dead and like, it's not doing that. It's just still pretty strong. It is, I mean that. Jim Parsons said something in an interview where you think they'd eaten all the meat off the bone. And I do kind of agree with him. I kind of do. It's like, this show could technically go another season or two. But I think if it did, it would kind of turn into like how I Met Your Mother was the last two seasons. Just be like, man, they're just kind of stretching things out. Another show that did that was Friends. I mean, it was good for a while, but there was a point it's like, this is the last season. Okay, this is the last season. All right, this one's the last season. It's like, dude, just end the show. I know you guys like doing this show and you have fun doing this show. I get it, but there's a point it's like, man, that's enough. I mean, just stop. I mean, they stretch out that Ross and Rachel thing forever. And the same thing happened in How I Met Your Mother. I mean, they stretch out like this stuff, and then like everything was rushed at the end. It's like, dude, what the heck? So like, I think that like I agree. I'm like, this is a show that's had a good run, and it's still fun for them to do. It's not boring. It's not, it hasn't lost its charm, I don't think. So I think now is probably a good time to end it. I just mean that. It's like, yeah, there's young Sheldon. Jim Parsons is doing that. All right, fine. And you know what? Some other cast members have other things going on. Johnny Galecki, is on Connors every now and again. Kelly Cuoco is going to be Harley Quinn in the new Harley Quinn show on DC Universe. So it's not like they're running out of things to do. No. They have things to do. They do, and there'll be reruns. So there's still that going on. So yeah, I'm still a little bummed the show's getting canceled. But at the same time, I'm like, but you know what? It is probably a good time to do that just because, you know what? It's had a good run. It has, and it is kind of sad when you see a show you like start to lose its momentum and its steam. And this show, in my opinion, hasn't really done that. So yeah, That show's out now, and I think there's still like another like 13, 14 episodes of this season, I think. So it's not like it's like, over yet. No, it's only like halfway, because it's only the 12th episode of the season. So yeah, that's I think it's definitely worth checking out. I'm looking forward to seeing where this show goes next. So that's all we have for this episode. I had a lot of fun bringing all this great stuff to you. I hope you had as much fun as I did listening to it. But don't worry, I'll be back real soon with more sci-fi news.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sci-Fi Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.